I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We are joined by Fio Novalia. Hi.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm Fio. I'm a variety streamer on Twitch. I mostly do art and cozy games, if you count Monster Hunter as a cozy game. It's a lot of Monster Hunter and Animal Crossing.
Yes, they're on the exact same end of the spectrum.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, so everybody has different ways to be cozy. That's
hmm
the way of the world. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Uh, when did you get started with VTubing?
Uh, it was September 2022.
Mm-hmm. And
So it's
and
been
and why were you a VTube fan before that?
I actually had been wanting to start VTubing since God, like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried streaming a couple of times before that, just without like a face cam or anything like that.
Right.
Um, but I kept getting, it's very daunting, especially when you are your own artist, so you do everything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I kept getting like very overwhelmed by the idea of making my own live 2D and stuff like that. So I kind of kept like pushing it off.
Right.
And then in 2022, I just like decided on a whim I was gonna do it because I wanted to stream my roles
Mm-hmm.
in uh that Hatsune Miku gotcha game with some friends. So I literally just drew a PNG tuber in like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this now.
That Miku, she gets into everything.
It's true. We should always credit everything to Miku.
All for Miku. Um,
hmm
the so you were a fan before. I mean, did you watch a lot of VTubers before you got started?
I didn't watch a lot just because I was in grad school at the time, so I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have a lot of time, but uh I was a fan. I mostly watched Sana from Hololive.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then I would kind of like watch clips of other VTubers,
Right.
just whatever random clips I like saw.
Right. Yeah.
Um
That's what a lot of people end up doing. I mean, when people say I watched VTubers, I tend to think that a lot of that is I watch clips of VTubers because
yeah,
it's
I think
pretty
so too.
it's pretty tough to watch hours and hours of every VTuber you know.
Yeah. I When I watch a VTuber, it tends to be like, well, nowadays a lot of times I watch my friends and I just put them on while I'm doing something else.
Hmm.
But um the the people that I would consider myself like fans of that are like, I don't know, like bigger VTubers,
Hmm.
um tend to be people who are really chill that I can like put on in the background
Yeah.
because usually I'm not paying a lot of attention. So if there's a lot of like loud noises or anything, it gets like, kind of makes me jumpy.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I can understand
Yeah.
that. Especially if because everybody watches for a different reason. Everybody, some folks do it to relax. Some people want to get into the games with them. Some people want to be part of the show. And
Yeah.
there's all sorts of different reasons why they come into chat. But it sounds to me like you wanted to just be comfortable.
Yeah, I guess I would say it's kind of like I like the vibe of when you're like in a room with your friend and you're doing two different things,
Hmm.
but you're like still hanging out.
Yeah,
That's kind of like the vibe I like.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can still jab at each other about anything you want to, but you're still just kind of doing your own thing and just hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that in my 20s, but my 20s was a long time ago.
I mean, I still do that with my friends, at least over Discord because most of them don't live near me, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's great that the technology is here to do it.
hmm
I mean, folks who aren't old enough to remember how phones used to work, uh,
Oh my God.
yeah, Yeah, I mean, I lived in a town where 10 miles away was considered long distance, and it was like $2 every 3 minutes to call your friend that was 10 miles away. Um,
Yeah, I remember as a kid, I used to play Wizard 101 as a kid,
oh,
that MMO. And my mom would get really mad at me for like using up all my like minutes on my phone because my friends and I would do like group calls for, I don't know, like 8 hours while we were playing together
that's about
on
as
like a
early
Saturday.
an earlier version of it as you can possibly get of Discord.
Uh-huh.
Group calls
Dude gets,
on your phone card.
uh-huh. Dude
That
gets so mad about it.
well, I mean, that kind of led you into this, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny because I don't actually play MMOs anymore. That was my only adventure into it.
Well, I mean, once you played that one, why would you want to play another one? It's
This is true.
yes.
But also I think I realized when I got older and I tried to like go back to Wizard 101
Mhm.
for like the nostalgia, once I realized that like, oh, I actually had to pay for this with my own money, like to subscribe to the game, I was like, okay, never mind.
Yes, yes. As we get older, we get cheaper. At least I try to
Maybe
be.
it's just maybe it's just the priorities.
Yeah, I'll call it priorities.
Yeah.
That's what I'll use next time. Next time Misty brings up when I bought generic instead of full price, I'll say, yeah, priorities, hon, priorities.
Yeah, the generics usually the same.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Um, the artwork that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, have you always been an artiste?
Uh, in different forms, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Different forms. So
Uh,
tell me.
I did some drawing as a kid, but I was never super serious about it because I was a pianist for
Mm,
like, I don't know, 16, 15 years.
wow.
Um, and that was pretty much my thing that I did. I never had time for anything else
Oh
because I
yeah.
was competitive.
Oh, so you were going to the shows and stuff and competing against
Hmm.
other prodigies of the piano. Yeah.
I would not call myself a prodigy. I just literally did nothing but practice piano.
Well, I think that anybody who actually can play the piano is a prodigy because not only am I switch-handed, but my fingers are short and stubby. I can't,
Hmm.
I couldn't play anything like that if I wanted to. So I consider you a prodigy if nobody else does. Um,
Uh,
so you went. How did you go from that to the artistry?
um, I got to college, uh, and I went for piano, but that
Hmm.
wasn't really what I wanted to do. I
Hmm.
wanted to do music theory because I used to really like music theory.
Hmm.
But that wasn't a degree available at the school I went to.
Hmm.
So I I went with just piano. And I'm dyslexic, that's important.
Yeah.
So I can't sight read music very well because if you can't hardly read regular letters, how can you like sight read music?
I have never thought of that. I imagine that would be very, very confusing.
Yeah, it's to me it's a lot more difficult to like sight read music than it is to just like read normal text.
Oh my gosh.
Um and a lot of the program was really centered around like they weren't even expecting me to like memorize the music for my finals. They
Mm.
were like fully expecting me to just be able to sight read it for them and just play it perfectly because I was sight reading it. And I realized very quickly that I can't do
Mm.
that. And also, I was kind of getting really frustrated because like the competitive piano sphere um doesn't really let you choose your own music
Right.
because I guess it's really difficult for them to evaluate everyone equally if everyone is just choosing stuff that just is not on the same level.
Right.
So you're given like a set of pieces to choose from, and I just started getting really irritated with not being able to like pick the things that I want to do.
But you're really, really good at this particular Bach piece. But then everybody else is because that's also the only thing that anybody plays.
Well, the thing is like I'm not good. I was never good at playing Bach
Mm,
like fugues or anything like that, like the really technical stuff.
yeah.
Um, but those were always the things that I was allowed to pick.
Uh,
And I just finally was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
oh, that's too bad.
So
I mean,
I just quit.
did you enjoy playing though? I mean, if somebody just said, here's the piano, play what you want.
Uh, by that point, not really.
Oh,
Um,
that's too bad.
I think if I were to pick it up again, I probably would come to enjoy it again.
But
Um, but some of it would probably take a while because I would have to unlearn a lot of the like technical learning
mm, yeah,
because
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah. I understand that because actually I hear that a lot from artists who went to school for art and had already
Hmm.
established their style a little bit. They get stripped of that style and put into the basic 1, 2, 3 kick type of stuff, and
Yeah.
they don't enjoy it nearly as much as they get into that type of thing. I
In
imagine,
some ways,
yeah,
yeah, in some ways I'm actually really glad that I did not have formal art training because
yeah,
of that.
yeah. I think so. I mean, there's a lot to be said for the basics, which I know nothing of. I probably would hold the wrong end uh, a brush as far as doing paint, but the if you don't have the individuality of it, what's the point of it? You can just have anybody
Yeah.
print it out.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah. So you
I
developed your own style and kind of self-taught yourself through school?
uh I don't think I really developed my own style until like I don't know, the past couple years
Hmm.
because I really was struggling with that. I did a lot of when I first started out, I just kind of was like copying styles I really liked because my roommate at the time, who is a really good artist and has a really great style,
Hmm.
she was like, "Well, these are the styles that I really like." So I learned by just copying them for a really long time until I like figured out the parts of them that I liked and just like adapted them into my own, like morphed them into my own thing.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I drew a lot of Pokemon, which is funny because I don't actually play Pokemon.
But you can draw a mean, shiny Pikachu.
I like the little critters.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the spin-off games too. I just the mainline ones are really not for me, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the little critters. They're cute. So I drew a lot of Pokemon. Um, there's a lot of early Pokemon stuff. I tried really hard to draw like shoujo style stuff, but I could not figure it out because it's so detailed and I was a beginner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So,
and then I think I just started finding like individual artists I like to like study.
mhm.
Um, but there was a while there where I like wasn't sure what I was doing. So I decided to go to grad school for art,
Yeah.
which the important distinction here is that in grad school they don't teach you anything about art. It's very much more focused on you already know what you're doing, so we're just gonna like help you further refine it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, so you didn't have you you didn't really qualify.
Well, I got in anyway.
Did it help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Um, I mean, in some ways, I think the program was kind of useless, but in other ways, I mean, the professors themselves were really talented artists,
Hmm.
and they were people who saw value in all different kinds of art, which I
Hmm.
appreciated
Yeah.
because I refused to do anything other than anime. Um,
That's
but also,
that's tough to get college professors, some of them, to go for.
two of my professors actually were really into anime, so that helped.
Good. Good.
Um, but also, like, I remember there was one time where I was like, I decided I wanted to try watercolor, and I don't know how to do watercolor. I still don't know how to do watercolor. I should clarify that. Um, and one of them actually does watercolor, and he offered to like teach me how to do it, and I said, I don't, no,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna figure it out.
yeah,
If I'm doing it wrong, then whatever, but that's how I do it. And he
yeah.
said, all right, fine, fair enough.
Mhm. That sounds like a pretty decent art teachers there. I mean, some folks that are instead of jamming you into a mold, they're kind of shaping the clay a little bit, and there's a big
Yeah.
difference there.
I mean, like he offered the help if I wanted it. So
Mm.
like if I did have a question, I was free to ask it. But, if I wanted to just do it my own way, then, I was free to do it.
Yeah. So, how did you? I mean, did playing the piano and being in competitions help when you started creating art and showing it to people?
Um,
And as far as
help.
as far as being courageous enough to show people what you did and being confident enough to show what you did.
I think it did make me primed for criticism. Like I take criticism well.
Mhm.
Um, Probably just because I'm used to it. Um, but in other ways, I do actually think it made me worse off just
Oh,
because, um, I don't know. It was growing up, everyone always thought I was a show off for
mm,
being a competitive pianist, even though like I never like played for stuff unless people explicitly asked me to. Like there were a couple school functions
right.
where I was asked to like provide background music.
Yeah. My
So I
ass,
would just
but my ass,
repeat a section
yeah,
of Fur Elise for
yeah,
10 minutes. Like who cared?
yeah,
Nobody was paying attention.
right. And it,
Um, or sometimes I would assist with like choir warm-ups
mm,
if the teacher was running late or something. Like it wasn't, I was never just sitting down and being like, oh my God, guys, look at how good I am. But people really were trying to insist that I was purposefully showing off to them, which I like inherently knew I wasn't, but I guess in a way it did kind of get to me because they were like that for so long.
yeah.
Because sometimes when I post my art, I still have like that feeling of, oh, people think I'm just like looking like fishing for attention.
Ah, yeah. Well, it's a lot of that is. I hope you look back on it and realize that a lot of that is jealousy on their part.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, and
but
and people like us who are thoroughly untalented at the things you're able to do are never going to understand why you do the things you do.
it's just fun. It's
Yeah.
weird too because it's like I'm not fishing for attention, but it's like it's this thing that I made. I'm really proud of it, and I want everyone to look at it.
Well, yeah. I mean, for some people it's very easy to do. For some people it's it's so personal that they don't want to show that part of them. And it's still to me. I mean, if I drew something that actually wasn't going to get me arrested if we're being so bad, then and I wanted to show somebody, I would still have to go over a mountain to be confident enough to show somebody. Um, but if it sounds to me like you really didn't have that problem, but people were kind of taking that and using it against you.
Maybe that is the case.
Hmm. Hmm.
I haven't really examined it much.
You're going too deep, Loy. Go to something else. Now that you are in VTubing and you have your own channel, you have a an audience with you while you are uh, artisting, which isn't a word but should be. Um, how does that? What does that do to you? I mean, does it make you uncomfortable, or did it at first anyway?
um, Drawing on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was embarrassing at first.
Mm, mm.
Um, I would prep all of my sketches before stream because I was like embarrassed to sketch on stream. I don't know why. Um, I just was.
Yeah.
Um, and at the time I was drawing on my iPad because my desk setup was like really funky.
Mm,
So it was really hard for me to like draw on my like proper screen tablet
right.
while streaming.
Hmm.
Um, and the mirroring app that I used sometimes would be like really weird and would freeze up and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
People don't really know all the stuff that goes on behind just trying to get
yeah,
something like that on on a stream.
yeah,
And it's just not plug and play. There's other things involved.
yeah, there's so much.
Mm,
But earlier this year, I like got a new desk
mm.
that like lets me put my drawing tablet because it's really big. It's like the size of a monitor.
Whoa. Okay.
Um, like on the same side of the desk as my monitors so that I can see all three of them
Cool.
at once. Uh, so I decided to try a drawing stream where I like start from the sketch
Hmm.
and like try to learn Clip Studio Paint because I really have not used it much.
And
Um, it's gotten a lot easier actually.
well,
I've also gotten significantly faster.
yeah, yeah.
My drawing streams, it used to take me like two or three, 4 to 6 hour streams to finish a piece.
Whoa.
Um, and it was like 2 weeks ago. I finished an entirely rendered piece in like 2 hours, and it
Eh,
wasn't even the only thing I drew on stream.
Cool. Excellent. Excellent. Well, how was chat responded to this?
Chat really enjoys them. They're kind of like our like cozy co-working streams.
Mm,
So I play Spotify in the background.
yeah.
Um, and obviously I've set it up so it doesn't save on the VOD, or else Twitch would get me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would
Um,
smack you down right away for that.
yeah, they would, but it's okay because it's not in the VOD.
Yeah.
So we listen to Spotify. I chit chat sometimes about like, what I've been up to that week.
Yeah.
Um, we kind of chat about stuff we've seen on Twitter or stuff going on in games. Um, Sometimes I sing along to Spotify while I'm drawing. Uh, yeah, it's like chat isn't usually we'll have like moments where chat and I are like really going, and then other times where chat kind of like chills out because they're like doing their own thing.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
that's the absolute definition of a comfy streamer. The way it should be
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
And everybody just kind of sits in and sits around the campfire and does their thing.
yeah. And this new app for like I I call it an app. I don't know. You get it through Steam,
Mm,
but it's called V Hand, where it's like it tracks your mouse.
mm,
So you have like a little hand that tracks where your mouse is on the drawing program,
okay.
and it holds like a little pin, and it has like little scritchy pin noises. You can like customize what the hand looks like and the kind of pen you use and
Yeah.
stuff. And I tried it out last week, and everyone was like, "We love the scritchy noises. Do this again."
It does add something to it.
It does.
Little-
Well, because when my like pen is over the canvas, you literally cannot see where it is
mm,
because the little cursor is so small.
right.
So when I move it off to, I don't know, like change settings or something, you
Mm,
can see my cursor because I have a custom cursor that's pretty easily to notice.
hmm.
But then once I move it back to the canvas, you can't see it anymore. So
Mm.
I thought that it would be nice for them to like be able to see where my hand is.
Get an idea of what might be coming next rather than
Yeah.
random lines appearing on the screen. Um,
Yeah.
so with this, have you gotten any backseat artists?
Uh, no, usually people only comment when I'm like asking a question about how Clip Studio like functions as a program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody really comments on like my actual process or art style.
That's good.
I mean, I suppose that could happen, but
Yeah, I'm really surprised at that. And I've asked a lot of artists, and I would have thought that there would be people just jamming in to try and get force their own stuff, but it doesn't happen very often. I'm
I
pretty amazed at that.
I think it's different from like gaming in the sense that like most artists who are watching other artists aren't there to like watch people draw in their specific art style. They're watching the artist draw in their
Hmm.
like the streamer draw in their art style, right?
Right.
So like if I'm watching my friend's art stream, I'm not there to watch my friend draw in my art style because that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, it does really.
Um, so like to backseat the artist in that sort of way kind of doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't really mind when my like artist friends in chat backseat me on how to use Clip Studio because
Hmm.
I admit that I don't know how to use it.
Still
And
in
I can
progress.
I can like 100% see how that would get really frustrating to like watch me do something that like doesn't make sense when there's like a function to make that significantly easier.
Only slightly screaming at the at the,
Well, this is somewhat my own folly in that I don't learn how to do things properly when it comes to art. I just like throw myself headfirst in the fire.
yeah, jump in the deep end and go from there.
Yeah.
Well,
I never learned how to use Photoshop properly either when I was using Photoshop to draw,
yeah,
which
yeah, but if you
baffled my professors.
if but if you did that, would you have come up with the same style though? If you'd have just gone by the book.
I probably still would have just done the same thing because the things that my professors were like, "Did you didn't know how to use the burn tool?" I used it and I was like, "I don't like how this looks. Why would I use this?"
For me, the burn tool was always the toaster. I could just put stuff in the toaster and burn it, and but then I wouldn't
That's
have.
literally what this thing looks like.
Oh,
I mean, that's why it's called that. It looks like you're burning things.
oh, geez. Yeah, I would. I don't trust myself burning anything. I don't care if it's art or anything else. I don't trust myself with art to start with, and anything that sounds like destruction would probably actually work for me, as
I'm
far as
sure
that
there's a
goes.
time and place for that tool, but not me.
So when you're playing a game now, and you have the art behind you, and you see a game that isn't particularly your style of art and isn't the what you would do, does that harm the game value for you?
Not really. I'm maybe this is because I've like learned how to critique art, even if it's not art that I personally like.
Hmm.
But it's easy for me to be like objectively, this is nice. Like this is a nice art style, or like I can see what they were doing here and how this would appeal to people. But like personally, I don't like it.
Hmm.
Like it's easy for me to separate those two things.
Right.
Um, but there are definitely games that I avoid because I like personally don't like that style. Like I tend not to uh like games that are hyper photorealistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um just because I think they tend to lean more on the like dark and gritty, not
Right.
even in the like theming, just like the actual visuals.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
It's like
it's hard for
I,
me to think of a game that isn't like that.
yeah, where like at least I mean Monster Hunter World kind of went a little bit more realistic, but they kept like a lot of the color, even if it's a little more toned down from some of the more cartoony Monster Hunters.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I mean, you are hunting monsters, so I mean,
yeah, they
there's
have to have fun colors
yeah,
somewhere.
there's going to be something in there, whatever color it is. When
Yeah,
you hit them, it's going to be something. But you don't want that type of thing if you're playing Stardew Valley, for instance.
right.
Yeah.
So I tend to like games that are a lot more stylized just because like that's my personal preference.
Hmm.
Um, but I also am not afraid to like criticize a game for kind of being really sterilized. Like I play a lot of gacha games
Yeah.
and I play several Ho-Yo games and I will be the first to admit that they have a really bad habit of just doing the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
Even if it looks good, it's still the same thing.
Right. Right. Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes if you're successful with what you got, it's easier to just go back what you do it again.
Yep.
And while that didn't make any sense as an English sentence, it's true. Uh,
It made sense to me. I understood what you were saying.
but with all that, and with your art background, I also have seen the word singer on your uh, Twitter X.
Yeah.
So tell me about the singing.
I'm classically trained.
Oh my gosh. I mean, is there any other? things that you're super talented at that I'll never be able to do?
Those are pretty much the three. I did theater in high school,
Four.
but I won't say I'm like a fantastic actor.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got me beat there.
Um, but yeah, I'm a classically trained singer.
Mm-hmm.
I did some gig work in high school too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but uh, I didn't really continue that in college. I mostly just did choir in college.
Ah, well, I mean,
Um,
that's still pretty good. So, are you going to
yeah.
be doing some streams with the singing sometime?
Yeah, I've done a couple karaoke streams already.
Mm-hmm.
And then YouTube bonked me for them, so they're not up.
Womp right away. Is
Yeah.
is it tough for a classically trained singer to do any of the modern songs?
Mm, not really for me, just because uh my teacher was a jazz singer.
Mm,
So she would teach me like the classical stuff so that I would like know how to protect my voice.
right.
And then she would immediately teach me how to adapt that to like non-classical singing.
Okay. So you go from operatic to Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh, well, I never learned opera singing. That's like it's a completely different thing.
Right. But with classical
But yeah.
classical music to Ella Fitzgerald, which kind of doesn't has its own genre.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's
Uh
wonderful though. That's out.
yeah. I enjoy the karaoke streams. I just don't do them that often.
Yeah,
Uh I save them for special occasions.
yeah. Well, are you going to do any covers?
I would like to. I think I need to get a different mic situation first though.
Mm,
Because
yeah,
right now I have a USB mic.
yeah.
Um and I think it doesn't have the best
Frequency range.
like compression.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um
people 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 who don't use microphones all the time don't know what we're talking about. But
yeah.
there is a
Well,
big difference. There is.
yeah. Well, and my office has like hardwood flooring, so I can't really like do anything about the like sound bounce there.
No, no, and
But yeah.
there's just some areas, and a little bit of sound buffing can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And you can get a wrong type of microphone. You can get a microphone that's perfectly good. Most USB microphones are perfectly good for talk, but if you want to do something with a better range of frequency to the voice and sounds, you better get a better microphone than that.
Yeah. I noticed on my last karaoke stream that it's like because this microphone is really good. I mean, I think it's just a podcasting mic. It's really good for talking.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed on my last karaoke stream that some of the high notes were just getting completely clipped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah,
if I want to do a cover, I think I have to like actually look into an XLR.
yeah, yeah. You have to actually, or at least either borrow and or steal one. That works too.
I don't know anyone who has one that I can borrow, at least that lives in the States.
Well, I mean, it's and you have to find a place that's going to be good for the sound reflection and
Yup.
and all that stuff. It does make a big difference.
Hmm.
The microphone I have right now is okay for talk, but nothing I do would be okay for my singing. I haven't hit a note on purpose since 1985, so there you go. Um,
I also don't know how to mix music,
oh, ah,
so there's that.
well, there's a lot of folks that I've talked to that do. I mean, there'll be
Yeah.
yeah, there's
I know
just
a couple people who do, so
yeah, it's a that type the dial spinners are people I always take my hat off to because I did a
oh, I
little bit of
know.
that, but I wouldn't be able to mix a big song or anything. It's
I've looked at it and every time I like look at tutorials on how to do it, I'm just like, I don't understand any of this.
you just have to grab it and play with it until you have to get a hold of it and play with all the buttons until you figure out how it works.
I don't understand how like the DAW systems work, like
Yeah,
the DAW programs work enough to figure it out.
yeah, yeah. It's just see, I worked overnight at a radio station for a long time, and
Yeah, that'll do it.
so I got to play with everything. By the time I was done, I knew this giant board inside and out. Um, but if you don't have the time to do that, then it's a little bit rougher for sure.
Yeah.
Fio, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Yeah.
And the depth of what you're able to bring to the VTubing community is really really cool. And I'm glad that you
Thank
got
you.
this opportunity to show us what you got because um, again, 20 years ago we wouldn't have this opportunity to hear what's going on. And I'm hoping that you're enjoying it, and I hope that you're hitting the goals you want to.
I am. I'm really enjoying it. It's been really fun. I think when I first started, I kind of didn't know what I was doing and I isolated myself a little bit, but in the past year or so, I've made more of an effort to make friends and make connections, and that's made it a lot better.
Well,
Uh, Made it a lot more fulfilling.
well, you're really easy to talk to. I'll tell you that. And
Thank you.
anybody who gets mad talking to you would get mad at Bambi. I'll tell you that.
I think that's an exaggeration.
Oh, I'm guilty of that every once in a while. We're going to get you on again soon, if that's okay with you. I really do appreciate having you
Sure.
on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.